This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Thursday, the new Friday, August 29th. And today's pod is the best one yet. This is a TBOY.
The top 3 pop business news stories you need to know today.
How many meetings have we had today, Jack? I've seen a lot of you today, man. You're looking great, by the way.
I've seen you too much, dude. We just got back from 2 weeks of vacay, and there was a serious pent-up demand for meetings.
Yeah, you know, it's not a good sign, Jack, when you have to end a meeting by saying, we have to go. We have another meeting.
That happened like 6 times in the past 48 hours.
The best thing is when we say we gotta go, we gotta record the pod. So, Jack, 3 stories for today's T-Boy. What do we got on the show?
For our first story, Nvidia just announced earnings that were so big, people hosted watch parties.
So Jack and I poured ourselves a Negroni for the most important earnings report of the year.
For our second story, it's never been harder to find a Mr. Softee ice cream truck.
The decline of Mr. Softee soft serve ice cream tells us more about our streets than it does about our sprinkles.
And our third and final story is the newest innovation from Ozempic.
What is
It's not
it,
about
Jack?
cutting weight. It's about cutting out the middleman.
Boom! Big Pharma is cutting out the pharmacy.
D2C Ozempic.
Warby Parker of Wangervie.
If I have one more meeting today, I'm just gonna ghost it.
Hey, let's cancel our 2:15.
But Yetis, before we hit that wonderful mix of stories.
Fantastic mix of stories. Love the mix today, Jack.
Yetis, we know how you're feeling today.
Besties, you are cranky, you are tired, and you are sleepy.
And we know because this is the worst week of the year for sleep.
This is the worst week of...
Get this, Yetis. We have data to prove it.
We do.
Google searches for how to fall asleep fast doubled this past Monday.
That's right. Twice as many people were up at 2 a.m. on Sunday night struggling to go to sleep.
And it's not a case of Sunday scaries.
No, it's not.
It was a case of back-to-school can't sleepies.
In fact, Jack and I followed the data even further, and this happens every year around this same time.
Yep, the end of August. It's the biggest month for Googling of the word insomnia.
In fact, early September is when Googles for melatonin typically peak.
Because you're transitioning from beach time to reality time.
You're either going back to work post-vacay or you're going back to school post-breakay.
And so you can't sleep past 9 a.m. like it's 4th of July weekend anymore.
But Jack, you and I should whip up our own personal sleep hack. What is it, man?
Yeah, they're not that good, but pitch darkness in your bedroom. That always works.
I was just at Jack's house and he duct tapes the curtains in some rooms, don't you, Jack?
I closed the door and I put little black pieces of electrical tape
Yeah.
over any blue lights emitting from my electronics.
Oh, and if that doesn't work, just rub some magnesium onto your eyelids, your toes, your body. I mean, we're not doctors, but...
And if that doesn't work,
yeah.
grab a frying pan, hit yourself over the head. Always does the trick.
Yetis, congratulations, you're already out of bed. And if Jack and I know one thing about this podcast, it's gonna keep you awake.
Let's hit our 3 stories, baby.
Let's hit.
15 years before this song, 2 boys from the Northeast met in the dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at list. If you know, you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, the most important earnings report of the year just happened, and that company was Nvidia.
The computer chip stock was a referendum on the entire AI and even the entire tech industry.
Or was it, Jack? Yetis, when it comes to the Oscars, you get together for a watch party.
For a Super Bowl, of course, you watch at a watch party.
But Jack, for Nvidia's quarterly corporate earnings report?
A watch party. We've never seen this before, Yetis, but Wall Streeters just organized a watch party for a corporate earnings call.
Jack and I literally worked at banks for years, and no one ever invited us to a watch party for an earnings report.
Wall Streeters rented out Storehouse Bar in the Flatiron District of New York City for an unofficial watch party of Nvidia's second quarterly earnings.
Yeah, they showed up to the bar, they were drinking beer, eating wings, and listening to the CFO's commentary on the third quarter outlook. Sounds like a fun time.
Because while the market is up 27% over the last 12 months, It's all largely thanks to Nvidia.
One company, Nvidia, their stock is up 167% in the past year and 3,000% in the past decade.
Nvidia is a whale in the stock market. They're the second most valuable company in the world with a valuation of $3 trillion.
In fact, Nvidia is so big, Jack, could you just sprinkle on a little more context for us, please?
They make up 7% of the entire S&P 500.
So when Nvidia shakes its tail, the entire ocean of stocks has some waves. Analogy ended up working out pretty well with your whale,
I thought
Jack.
you were going to say splash.
Honestly?
That would have worked too.
Okay, we'll work on it. But in the meantime, Jack, we don't want to withhold the information any longer. Let's grab a beer, grab a bourbon, and talk about these hefty Nvidia earnings, my friend.
Nvidia just announced that they sell $300 million worth of AI chips every single day.
That's insane, but Jack, we should get a little more specific.
Sales more than doubled in the second quarter, as profits more than doubled too.
Yetis, Nvidia is pulling in $15 billion in quarterly profit, which is more than Amazon's, and $30 billion in quarterly sales.
And that calculates to a wild 50% profit margin.
That's insane, but there's also a little fun fact we noticed about Nvidia.
Nvidia made $3 billion in their video game console division.
Yeah.
Selling chips to companies like Nintendo.
Turns out Nintendo is actually a top client of Nvidia.
But the vast majority of Nvidia's business today is AI and data center chips.
That's right, because 87% of Nvidia's revenue actually came from that single AI-related division.
Warehouses for computing AI that powers that chatbot you just asked a question to.
So, besties, put down that bourbon for a second. Let's add this up. The revenue, the profits, the outlook, every number we just mentioned about Nvidia was a huge number that beat analysts' expectations.
Which is why it was so puzzling to see Nvidia stock fall after the earnings report.
In fact, Jack and I are recording right now after the earnings, and the stock is gyrating. It's up, it's down. No one really seems...
It ended up down 4% as of this recording, but Wall Street doesn't seem to know what to think about it.
But Jack and I seem to know what to think about it. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Nvidia?
Nvidia's earnings were a Rorschach test. Everyone has their own interpretation.
The Rorschach Test, the ink blot test. It's a psychological experiment. You've probably seen it in movies or on TV, or maybe you've done one. Nothing wrong with that. What do you see here, Bob?
The person is shown a piece of paper with some black blobs on it, and you're supposed to describe what you see. There's no wrong answer.
No.
Everyone has their own interpretation.
Is it a butterfly or is it my mother?
Well, the same thing happened with how investors interpreted Nvidia's earnings yesterday.
Exactly. On the one hand, you could interpret them as AI is booming right now.
The biggest winner of AI is doing better than ever because everyone wants those AI chips.
But on the other hand, you could interpret Nvidia's earnings as proof of an AI bubble.
If you think tech companies are overspending on AI chips, well, Nvidia sold more AI chips than anyone could have imagined last quarter.
So, besties, you could look at Nvidia's numbers and walk away with either one of those perspectives.
You could think that AI is booming, or you could think that AI is a bubble.
So Nvidia's results, they were big, but they were also ambiguous.
They didn't give us a clear and decisive answer on what's happening in this AI frenzy.
Jack and I aren't going to BS you with some hot take or some random interpretation. These earnings were a Rorschach test.
You can interpret them however you see fit.
They're an AI bubble, or they're a butterfly. For our second story, we just got some wild data on the soft serve ice cream truck pioneer, Mr. Softee.
Ice cream trucks are a disappearing breed, and it actually reflects a change to American neighborhoods.
Now, Jack, let's jump in TBOY style straight to the numbers here. Mr. Softee, founded by two brothers of brotherly love down in Philadelphia in 1956, baby.
They pretty much invented the food truck.
Oh, now you have seen the Mr. Softee food truck, haven't you?
Big old white truck driving down the street. You see that cone head logo, and you're only thinking to yourself, rainbow sprinkles or chocolate sprinkles?
Rainbow sprinkles every time. They taste like Lisa Frank stickers. Oh, by the way, the menu, it's 6 foot tall.
Is it?
I feel like when I was a kid, it was like bigger than me.
Weirdly specific details.
But Yetis, if you have not seen the Mr. Softee ice cream truck, you've definitely heard the Mr. Softee ice cream truck.
Because the truck lets you know they're there with the music.
Yeah, the jingle. It's actually been played an estimated 100 million times, making it arguably the most played song in history by our calculations.
Right behind the Delta customer service, you're on hold. Please wait.
It's the anthem of the summer. It's the Vivaldi of vanilla. Wait, Jack. Oh, wait. There it is.
Oh!
There it is. There it is. Okay,
Oh!
yeah. Here they come. Here they come. Get
Nick,
around.
Alex and I, we heard it last week. We ran outside with the boys, but by the time we got out there, the truck had gone away. I wish they would slow down.
That's actually a real impediment to their sales forecast, Jack. If the drivers go too fast, the sales go down.
They should cut their speed by half.
But Yetis, Jack and I got curious. We jumped in TBOY style. And the one product at Mr. Softee is the core product at Mr. Softee.
Soft serve ice cream. The only question is whether you get it in a cup, a cone, or in a milkshake.
But this is what we found fascinating. The secret recipe isn't the hot fudge. It's the hot financials of soft serve ice cream.
Soft serve ice cream is very profitable because there's very few ingredients involved.
So it's lower cost.
There's only 2 flavors we're talking about.
So it's easy logistics.
And it's really fast and easy to serve.
So more sales volume, add it all up, and this is a profit puppy product, soft serve.
For hard ice cream, you have to hire somebody with like giant forearms to scoop with that giant scoop all day.
That's why Popeye spent so much time working at Haagen-Dazs, Jack.
But not for Mr. Softee.
But Yetis, before you scream for ice cream, Jack and I should point out the problem going on for Mr. Softee.
Mr. Softee is melting away. 2/3 of Mr. Softee's trucks nationwide have disappeared.
And get this, besties. Back in the 1960s, 2,000 Mr. Softee trucks operated by Mr. Softee franchisees crossed 38 different states.
But today, there's only 600 left. So why is Mr. Softee going soft on us?
Well, one issue that we noticed is actually a simple business force. Competition.
Bougie ice cream is taking over your block.
Yeah. 1 second. Van Leeuwen is now serving a caramel caviar gelato. I don't know. I'll pay $40 for a scoop of that, Jack.
But another reason Mr. Softee is struggling is actually quite counterintuitive.
It turns out, Yetis, that it's become, ironically, too hot to eat ice cream.
Because of climate change, there's way more very hot days we're experiencing in the summer.
Yeah, and when it is really hot outside, you don't want ice cream because it's going to melt faster than you can eat that thing up.
If it's 100 degrees and 200% humidity, you're not outside having fun at the ice cream truck. You're inside chilling in the air conditioning.
Jack, there's actually a sweet spot for ice cream, literally, and it's 87 degrees. Anything over 90 and you're kind of like, this is a little dairy-ish.
Well, you're just not outside, so you don't even see the ice cream truck coming.
And that double cone becomes a double mess. But besties, there is actually one final issue that isn't competition and isn't climate that's really hurting Mr. Softee.
It's kids and street corners.
So Jack, let's take one vanilla and one chocolate, because those are the only options.
Well, you can get a twist.
If you know, you know. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Mr. Softee?
Kids aren't playing in the streets anymore. That affects Mr. Softee and Mr. Parent, too.
So, Yetis, the whole idea of Mr. Softee was that it would drive around, encounter customers, and go to where the customer is. That was the business model.
It depended on there being kids in the streets playing. But that demographic of kids in the streets playing, it's disappeared.
Yeah, the average American family now has one fewer kid than they did 50 years ago, and they're not letting that kid hang out on the corner like they used to.
Because of iPads and kids having phones and we can track them, we're making kids less free. They can't go outside and just play in the streets anymore.
In fact, that social shift in raising kids has had negative impacts on parents and neighbors too.
Really interesting article from The Atlantic last month. Because our kids aren't mingling in the streets like they used to, neighbors know each other much less than before.
Yeah, it's actually like a broader economic issue. You're not getting to know people in the way you used to, and that's having a lot of consequences.
Because your kid isn't playing with your neighbor's kid in the street anymore.
So, besties, Mr. Softee's sales drop, it's actually a reflection of something much bigger.
Kids aren't playing in the streets anymore. It affects Mr. Softee and Ms. Parent, too.
Hey, Yetis, if you're a bestie, take a sec and hit that subscribe button.
And like this video while you're at it. If you leave a comment, by the way, we'll read it.
For our third and final story. You know, now that we've played that Mr. Softee jingle, I just can't get it out of my head, Jack. It's kind of like the Macarena of food jingles.
You don't forget it.
Anyway, for our third and final story, Americans are so ravenous for Ozempic that Big Pharma is changing their entire business model.
We're about to get direct-to-consumer Wegovy weight loss websites. Let me say that again. Direct-to-consumer Wegovy weight loss drug websites.
All right, Jack, how about we kick off this story with a little hero stat? What do we got, man?
1 out of 5 of your parents and their friends are taking those miracle weight loss drugs.
That's right, Ozempic, Wegovy, and Zepbound, the GLP-1 weight loss drugs that make you not hungry ASAP.
They chemically eliminate your appetite.
Yeah, and according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, 31 million Americans are taking these weight loss drugs right now.
Only 7% of American Gen Z is taking these GLP-1 drugs.
That's it.
But 19% of older folks age 50 to 64.
Yeah, if you're Gen Z, you're not on it, but your Uncle Bob is at the table, and he's probably on it right now.
And these drugs are so popular, there's a perpetual shortage of them.
You can't get a pink Stanley mug right now, and you can't get a GLP weight loss drug right now.
But one drug maker who really wants to profit off these drugs is trying to change that. They're trying to kill the shortage.
Eli Lilly is now selling their weight loss drugs in vials of liquid, not just the typical injectable pens.
You basically have to buy like a 6-pack of injectable pens right now. But now you can buy just a big bottle and use your own syringe is the deal.
It's easier to manufacture those bottles, so the price is now 40% lower.
Eli Lilly's weight loss drug is basically on sale. It's just BYO syringe.
But here's the news, Yetis, and this is bigger news.
Pharmaceutical companies are borrowing a strategy from Casper, from Allbirds, and from Glossier.
That's right. Yetis, just like the top millennial brands of the last decade, these pharmaceutical companies are going direct to consumer for the first time ever.
In January, Eli Lilly, a big pharmaceutical company, launched something unheard of, a direct-to-consumer website for pharmaceuticals.
Jack, can we get a translation on that direct-to-consumer lingo?
Eli Lilly tried to cut out the middleman and provide drugs directly to patients at a lower price.
And one of the middlemen who happens to be getting cut out of that equation?
Pharmacies. So Walgreens stock fell 9% on this news this week.
And then on Tuesday, besties, Pfizer launched the same exact thing.
They call it Pfizer for All. It's Pfizer's direct-to-consumer drug website.
So what we're saying here is that what Warby Parker did for glasses, Big Pharma is now doing for drugs.
And their ability to go direct to consumer is a big reason that Eli Lilly is dropping the price by 40%.
Jack, it's only a matter of time before Johnson & Johnson is plastering the subway with direct-to-consumer Advil ads. You know, it's going to be everywhere. Yeah. Use promo code I feel sick.
I actually do think they're going to do Instagram ads. No, that was part of the story. They're going to do social media ads to attract you to their website.
Mattress, mattress, mattress. But Jack, what's the takeaway for all our buddies in healthcare?
Ozempic isn't just disrupting weight loss. It's disrupting healthcare.
Now, Yetis, we've talked a lot about the Ozempic effect. Weight loss drugs have changed more than just the diet and the fitness industry lately.
Ripple effects from Ozempic and Wegovy, they can be seen everywhere in the economy. This drug is so wild, it's causing snack sales to fall. It's causing fashion sales to rise.
Even United Airlines is projected to save $80 million a year in fuel costs if passengers are lighter thanks to Ozempic.
All of that was wild. But now we're seeing the unthinkable.
And the unthinkable is that the U.S. healthcare system is now getting impacted.
Yetis, the American healthcare system. We've all been through it. It's infamously complex and inefficient.
Operator!
But it's so profitable to the players in the healthcare industry.
Representative!
But now, the demand for GLP drugs is so high, and the profit potential is so big, that Big Pharma is disrupting the status quo with new direct-to-consumer websites.
Besties, Ozempic, it isn't just disrupting diet, and it isn't just disrupting fitness right now.
It's disrupting the entire healthcare industry.
Jack, could you whip up the takeaways for us for the new Friday?
Nvidia showed another quarter of incredible growth as tech companies buy up their AI chips. But the stock fell.
Because Nvidia's earnings were really a Rorschach inkblot test. Everyone has their own interpretation.
For our second story, Mr. Softee only has 600 trucks left, down from 2,000 at its peak.
Mr. Softee is melting thanks to competition, climate change, and fewer kids playing on the corner.
And our third and final story is Eli Lilly, Pfizer, and the other big pharma companies. They're launching direct-to-consumer drug websites.
Ozempic, it's not just disrupting the diet and fitness industries, it's disrupting the entire American healthcare system.
But Yetis, this pod's not over yet. Here's what else you need to know today.
Abercrombie popped another collar. They announced knockout earnings again, but the stock still fell.
Sales rose by 21% in the latest quarter, continuing Abercrombie's amazing comeback.
But the CEO of Abercrombie cited increasingly uncertain environments in business.
Wall Street hates those kinds of ominous and ambiguous comments, so they sold the stock at this high.
They pooped the party. And second, Lego is having more fun than ever right now. Lego profits jumped 26% over the last half year.
The rest of the toy industry is struggling because of inflation, but Lego keeps selling and selling.
Oh, and the top toy last quarter? It was a Fortnite collaboration video game.
A Lego video game reached 83 million people thanks to our buddies over at Fortnite.
And finally, the Paralympic Games opened in Paris with nearly 5,000 athletes participating.
The Paralympic Games. They were founded in 1948 after World War II. They were created for war veterans.
For injured war vets to be able to keep on competing in an Olympic-style event.
And the most decorated winner of all time is the American swimmer Trisha Zorn, who won 55 Paralympic medals while being visually impaired.
Not too shabby. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one sent in with perfect timing from Jason Ehrman from lovely Houston, Texas.
Why is Nvidia called Nvidia? It starts with the letter N, by the way, not the letter I. It's like kind of confusing and hard to read.
It can get confusing. If you were hanging out at one of these NVIDIA watch parties, this would have been a good discussion point. You should share it with your Yetis today.
Turns out there's a Latin word, Nvidia, which means envy.
And the abbreviation NV stands for next version.
Which the techies love, the next version of their product.
So envy is closely connected with vision because we envy the things we see.
And that's why Nvidia's logo is an eyeball.
Green eyeball because it's green with envy.
Also, Nvidia kind of sounds like video.
Yes.
Nick, Nvidia's core business at the beginning was video graphic chips.
Jack, at this pace, I feel like you're going to tell me that Nvidia is my father.
I think Jensen Huang created the Illuminati.
Whose favorite word is Nvidia. But seriously, Nvidia, it comes from the Greek for envy, and the envy comes from next version. Jack, you are looking fantastic over there. Although, wait, one sec. Oh, man. Jack, the truck's back. They came back for you.
Well, get out there quick, because he's going to be gone before you know
it. One sec. I got it. Do you want vanilla? Do you want chocolate? Or you want a swirl, Jack? What do you want?
Swirl.
They're out of swirl. I'm sorry, they're out of swirl. I said the ice
What do
cream
you mean?
machine's broken.
You can't be out of swirl. You're either out of chocolate or you're out of vanilla.
I think you're overthinking it, Jack. He said they got banana boats. That's all they got right now. Do you want one?
I think that's a type of underwear.
Jack wants 2 banana boats and 1 swirl.
We better be expensing these ice creams.
It's a write-off. Yetis, click to follow us so you get us every day. And Jack and I will see you tomorrow. No swirl! And before we go, a happy 43rd birthday to Brian Chesky, who's probably celebrating in an Airbnb.
Happy 27th birthday to Netflix, who's probably celebrating Netflixing and chilling.
And Mike Robinson down in Minneapolis is celebrating a 40th birthday down in Vegas, baby.
Happy birthday to Beth Hagee in Columbus, Ohio, an amazing coworker and a fantastic friend.
And X-Teen from lovely Los Angeles is staying on point in those ballet shoes.
And to anyone else who celebrated something today, make it a T-boy.
Celebrate the wins.
This is Jack. I own stock of Abercrombie & Fitch, and Nick and I both own ETFs of the S&P 500.
A Rorschach test, an ink blot test, is a psychological experiment you probably have seen on TV or in the movies, or maybe you've taken one.
I hope not. Actually, I don't think it's a sign there's anything wrong with you.
It depends what you see.